Alright, for about 2 years now I've been talking about a new router table, and I'm finally getting around to starting it. Had a bunch of tools I sold on Craigslist and Home Depot gift cards for my birthday, so it's time to get started. I started ordering the parts and got plenty to get going. First thing came the router, and I ordered this from Home Depot, and they just put a sticker on the box. They didn't put it in another box, and they just shipped it FedEx. It did look like it got pretty beat up on the shipment. You can see where the bottom looked like it was torn open and everything was put back in there, and cardboard's all pretty much damaged. Looking at it, you see it did have quite a rough ride, so I'm just surprised that they shipped it this way. Usually they pack things good. The router actually, looks like it made it in decent shape. The wrench is bounced around in the box, and luckily that little T-wrench was hooked in there, but you can see the whole top of the box was kind of smashed in too, so it did have a rough ride, but luckily it did get here in one piece, and a nice T-wrench if you want to use it in a router table, and came with two really nice wrenches, not that stamped steel crap that most companies give you. Now I'll go over why I chose this, in a little while, but you can see it's a real nice router, and if you want to use it in a table, you don't have to have a lift for it. I'm going to be using a lift, but this has a feature with this T-wrench where it's got a screw built into it, and you can just loosen the clamp there, and you can see it's real easy to adjust it up and down. But it is a rather coarse movement, so you're not going to get a real fine movement, but that's one of the nice features of that router. And then I ordered the saw stop cast iron table, and I'll go over in a little while why I picked that one. It arrived, box was a little beat up, but I bought it on Amazon, and they second day aired it, so it didn't have to go cross country on the back of a UPS truck and get torn up. So luckily it arrived in good shape. It was really packed well, and the poor little girl on the UPS truck that delivered it, she put me to shame. She backed up to my door, opened the back, picked this thing up and carried it across the truck and handed it to me, and there I am struggling trying to get it out of the back of the truck. I couldn't believe it. And she just kind of looks at me and she goes, "Honey, you need a hand with that?" Oh man. Then I was able to pick it up and carry it in. But there's the router, and about a week ago I needed a 4-inch and a 2.5-inch hole saw for this project too. So about a week ago Home Depot had this hole saw set on sale, and I had broken my old arbor right off. I snapped it on my Bridgeport, and I didn't have the right size hole saw, so it would have cost almost as much to buy an arbor and the two saws that I needed as it did for this whole kit, so I picked that up. So let's look at the router first. There you can see it's going to be good for slab flattening also. It's 3.5 horsepower, and it does have a nice adjustment that adjustment feature can be used from the top. It's got really nice grips on it for holding on to a router that's this powerful. Then it's got a speed control built into it that's actually a 32 position speed control, and it's kind of hard to hear it click up on the lower ones, but it does wind up with each click. And from what I understand, this router has the most reliable speed control of a big router anymore. All the other ones seem to be failing when you put them in router tables, so that was one of the things when I read in a lot of reviews, so that was one of the reasons I picked this router. Plus the 32 speeds was really a big draw. And then to get it out of there, you just have to push that button to give you a course adjust, and you can pick it right out. And there's how that works on the router table. You can see how that wrench fits on there. But it's kind of in the way for a lift, so I'm not sure. I have to find a lift that'll work with this router and not have to take that screw out. And you can see these are really nice wrenches that came with it for adjusting it. I don't want to tighten the collet down now because you never tighten a collet down without anything in it. But you can see it's got an auto eject on it too, so it backs the collet nut out and the collet at the same time. And it only comes with a 1/2-inch collet, so I do have to buy a 1/4-inch one for it too. Now, if you look at the bottom of this one has a feature. It's got a shield there made for use in router tables. It actually deflects the chips away from falling in the motor like a lot of other routers do. And it does sit nice and flat on the top of it. So, as you can see, this old router table I've been using for the last 13 years is going up on Craigslist this week. Time to get rid of that and in with the new. But it's been pretty good over the years. Once I modified it and got rid of the original Harbor Freight motor. So now let's take a look at this SawStop top. Now the reason I purchased this was because I contacted SawStop. They told me that this one would be flat, ground flat within 10 thousandths. And I did not like the MLCS one that had the insert for the miter gauge there. And I did not like the Rockler one that had the grooves for mounting, that made the table weaker for mounting the fence on. So I went with this one, and you can see here I am. It had a light coat of grease on it, and I'm just starting to clean that off with some WD-40. But the pretty much the machining job, the grinding job they did on this is just beautiful. It's up in that one left corner, a couple little tiny dots you can barely see. You have to be in the right light, but everything is just beautiful. So I'm going to start out by putting on 2 coats of Johnson's paste wax, like I do on all my cast iron tops that I buy. So I'll put 2 on now, and then I'll let it dry and put another one on later, and be all set to go for a couple years. I don't know if this is the best thing for cast iron, but I've done it for 50 years and had no problem, so that's what I stick with. So you can see it's starting to clean up really nice and polish up pretty good there. They did do a really beautiful job on grinding this table and manufacturing it, and everything is really deburred, no sharp edges, no sharp corners, absolutely zero chips, stings, or damage in it. They just, I'm so glad I picked this tabletop. It's just, they did such a good job on it, but we still have to go back and verify the flatness on it. And there you can see there's a couple little dots right there, but that's the only flaw that I could find in it. It's not really a flaw, it's just kind of, you don't feel them, but they're there. And then they did actually engrave 2 lines, one on each side for the exact center of the thing for setting up a fence. So that's a real nice feature too. So they did put a lot of, I feel I picked the best top that's available these days. So now I'm going to go back through and I'm going to start checking the flatness. Now when I emailed them, they told me that the table would be flat within 10 thousandths, and I found that it wasn't quite there, but this is the way I checked it, just using the feeler gauge and my straight edge. To really verify it, you'd need a computer measuring machine, but going across the center of it there, which is the most critical part of it, the center is a little bit high, and the 2 outer edges there, I could put a feeler gauge underneath each edge that was 0.004, so 4/1000 of an inch. So that was really pretty amazing, I felt, for 32-inch table. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to check the front here, and this is another one of the critical spots, and that one came in at 0.005 that it was off by on both corners. So the outside edges just dropped just a hair. And then I went across the back, and that's where I saw something, a number that was a little bit out of tolerance. I put the straight edge across there, and I tried to hold it flat in the center because the 2 outer edges seemed to drop off a little bit, and that was 0.015 that they actually did drop off by. So, that was 5/1000ths over what they told me it was going to be flatness. And then I went corner to corner going that way, and actually in the end I came out with the same 0.015 going that way. And then I went corner to corner the other way there, and I did get a 0.012, which it pretty much dropped off in that one back corner. So, if you average it out, it would really only be like 0.006 up and down on each side, but the total out was 0.012. So it's it's a little bit less flat than what they say it will be, but it's actually I think it's going to be one of the best flatnesses you're going to find on a table. So I'm extremely happy with it. And looking at the back side there, you can see there's some mounting for fence brackets on there, which I'm going to build my own fence. And there's also a nice webs and ribs all around everywhere in there, you can see. And the casting, they did a really wonderful job, and it's basically just as flat as the top of it. They did grind both sides of it. And you can see those extra ribs in there where, like, Rockler puts the cutouts for adjusting the fence and stuff like that, which really make the table weaker, I feel, and more chance of it flexing over time. So, I really think I did choose the right table here, and I'm really happy with the way it looks. And there's a part number of it, and they're the factory, I guess, that must have cast it, and I own one. I'm not sure where that is, but casting's pretty much perfect, except for a couple really super minor little spots like that, but everything is very nice. And they did include a owner's manual for the whole setup if you want to buy it all, but I'm going to build my own cabinet for it, and I'm going to build my own fence. And I don't like those sawdust buckets. They destroy the routers, I think. So this is what I wanted to start with. And they also did include some screws there to level it from the base, so you don't need a router lift that has all those stinking set screws from the top with the holes to accumulate dust and stuff. So this is another really nice feature of this table. And there is about a 1/2 inch deep area for the router gauge, and all that slot for the miter gauge is just ground perfect to match my Grizzly saw. I didn't have to adjust the gauge or anything, and really nice and smooth running. And the secondary slot for the T-bolts, I bought a whole assortment of these T-bolts to use on this build, and they all fit perfect. Now, this is the start of my fence. This is a piece of pretty much precision 3x3 aluminum tubing. That's 1/8 inch wall. It's going to be my fence. You can see it's hollow, and I'm going to do my dust collection through the end of the fence so I don't have a hose hanging down. And eventually I'm going to automate it. I'm going to start out with manual with just some linear guides and stuff, but in the end it should be automated. And I also got some of this T-track here to build some fixturing with that actually fits in that miter gauge perfect too. So everything just kind of looks really nice. So this is just the start here. These are the first pieces that are in. I still have quite a bit more coming, but you can see I'm finally getting around to starting it. I've been talking about it for years, so this build will go on for a while. And I'm going to give this SawStop router tabletop a 5 stars, and also this Milwaukee router from what I've seen so far. Still deciding on who makes the best lift for my application, and hopefully next thing that'll be started is the work on the fence to get that designed and built. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.